Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another sort of Convallaria video, and today we are going to do the legendary gear farming guide for Weaponry Trial Stage 2. Now, this is the one I found to be the easiest of the three, actually, because you're dealing mostly with physical damage from the boss. It's much easier in this game, in my opinion, to get physical shields, to get defense buffs, and I'm going to show you my run here in a second, walk you through it, show you how I accomplish it, and there's a lot of characters in this game that can actually do this fight. Now, the run I'm going to show is a really cool one where I go like epic level knight team right here, but all of everything I'm using right here is very replaceable. There's just some mechanics you have to understand to properly execute this fight. So let's go ahead and run it. I want to start with this tactical preparation. You want to run raid order in slot 1. This is massively important because raid order gives your unit a huge speed boost to where they get to basically take the next turn. And if you're playing with a unit like Angel on your team who is slower than the boss, there are times where Angel just needs, and let's go ahead and fast forward myself, there's times when Angel needs to not go last. So you're going to specifically see that a couple times here. Now, I'm running this knight team, and I'll talk more about that here in a minute, but I want to start with the first mechanic you need to understand. And so I have T-Don move to range 4 away from the boss and give himself a physical shield. The way this boss works is like this. He's going to do a lot of attacks. In fact, his first 2 attacks are this way, where he targets the unit furthest away from him with a physical damage attack. It's a single target attack. You take reduced damage from the second one, depending on how far away from the boss you are, up to range 5. But don't get baited. You want to move to range 4 away from him, and I'll show you why here in a minute. But I have my person who's going to be tanking those move there. Now, I used T-Don for this. I will show you many replacement options for that here in a minute. There are a number of characters in this game that can successfully tank that. I use T-Don because I think he's a god and nobody appreciates him, and by being 4 units away from the boss, he's able to apply a damage debuff. You do want to bring damage debuffs to this boss, of course you do, because it's a boss. Debuffing them is a big deal, so that's why T-Don is like probably one of the best PvE tanks in the game, because he can provide that. But there's so many more characters that can pull off his role in this fight, and I'll show you those more here in a minute. Now, notice how I've achieved my front line. Here's the deal. This boss will be hitting your frontline characters with some physical attacks. The reason I chose the Knight squad as my front line is because Knights have access to a really cool passive ability in this game. Increase attack by 20% when attacking enemies from the front, and increase defense by 40% when being attacked from the front. This is insane for this fight, and I feel like Knights were made for this fight because you can just run up to this guy. He's always looking at you. You can always be looking at him, and you can take advantage of their like dueling capability. Now, you absolutely don't need this. This is not a must-have, but the combination of this plus a leadership aura, whether it's Gloria's or the other Knight one, like the one that just gives attack and defense, is giving you attack and defense. So you are just stacking up your defense buffs, which is such a great way to mitigate a lot of the damage that this boss is doing. Okay, let's keep rolling the video here and see how this goes. Now, there's my first mistake. Right there, I should have used the tactical ability that allowed Angel to go next. It's not a big deal if you mess that up on the first one. She just ends up tanking the first single target attack, which is the one, if you're going to tank one with your not tank, that's the one you want. It does apply a no healing debuff, so she has to dispel that, and next turn she could just heal herself. T-Don is going to continue to stack his shield, and yes, shields do stack, so he's just getting a bigger shield every time. My melee characters are going to continue, just take advantage of that knightly aura and fight this boss straight up. Might does a lot of damage, you guys. I didn't realize how much damage Might does until I was using him in this. Dude hits like a truck. I like it a lot. So Might's going to keep doing his thing. Tempest is going to keep popping off, as Tempest will do. And now, here's the boss's next attack. Watch this. So the boss's round 2 attack is Furious Wallop 2. Note this. This is where you get baited. If you read the description of that attack, it says if the further you are away from the boss up to range 5, you will take up to 50% less damage. The damage isn't the problem. You can see the shields didn't even get broken by that. And there again, like I said, I know that's T-Don and not everybody has him. Million characters that can do this, or at least 3 or 4 characters that can do this. including low rarity characters, it knocks you back 2 spaces. If you stand 5 away straight in front, it'll knock you off this cliff, and then you're taking big damage and you're out of position. So that's why you go range 4 right there. Even if you're not using Tidon to tank that, you still want to be range 4. Okay, Angel dispelled her no healing on the last turn. She's going to go ahead and heal herself back to full, and we're in a really good position going into round 3. But now things get weird. Shackles of Fate come out. This targets your front line, and you can see that attack, because we're stacking our defense and we're facing him and all that, doesn't do that much damage to us. However, notice these 2 characters, Lightning and Gloria, are now covered in this or Tempest and Gloria are now covered in this lightning aura. We're gonna have to do a stair-stepping thing here in a minute. So when I move my tank back, I'm not moving him to here for 2 reasons that I'll show you in a minute. I move him off to the right a little bit, and that's very important. So I move him there, go to standby. He's waiting. Now, Gloria, my person in the middle here, I just have this person attack the boss again. So she's going to just attack. I'm thinking through in my head right now, what am I doing? Let's go ahead and just fast forward till she actually does it. Did my son come in the room during this part of the video or what? Gloria, do something. Okay, sorry about that. So Gloria attacks. Then with my next move, I have Might run back here next to Tidon, and then I have Lightning step directly diagonal to Gloria. This is the stair stepping, because these units with the lightning bolts on them, they will explode in a cross-shaped AoE. So any unit standing directly side to side or front of back of them will take a lot of damage, and you don't want to take that. So they're going to take the damage because they have the debuff, but they don't want to take each other's hits. They don't want to be hitting anybody else on their team. They have this voltage shock thing on them. You could dispel this, by the way, but they will still proc their AoE damage even if you do dispel that. I don't think this is the fight where I test that. Maybe this is the fight where I test it. I think I test it right here. So watch this. I have him just do his attack. I have them stand next to each other, and I'm like, look, I'm going to use Angel to dispel their debuff. And I'm like, look, I did it. I dispelled their debuff. And then he still procs that and kills my units. So thank God this game has the backtrack mode. I immediately will just backtrack to Tempest's turn, and I'm like, well, that was a fun experiment. And I'll tell you what, as a content creator, I really appreciate the backtrack button. I appreciate it a whole lot. So I go ahead and move Tempest to diagonal from Gloria. Then I will take Angel, and he'll just stand by. Then you take Angel, you move her off to the side over here. Again, not in any sort of cross shape around those 2 units with lightning bolts. She comes over here. Here comes the lightning bolt procs. They only hit themselves, which is no big deal. That's the only, by the way, that's magic damage. So all that defense you're stacking, that's magic damage. So it hurts a lot more than the rest of the attacks in this fight. Now, the next turn is also kind of tricky. I have Tidon put his shield back on, but I don't have him move back to his original position. He needs to stay there. Gloria is going to continue to just fight the boss, but note a couple of things right here. The boss is going to go before Angel. This is where you need to use urgent order the first time, at least maybe the second time if you don't want her taking that first hit, but she needs to top everybody off right here. So I'm going to use urgent order on Angel, get her the next turn, then I'll then have Gloria hit the boss once, no big deal. Go ahead, Gloria, poke him with your stick. Then Angel's going to move up and AoE heal the team. The boss's next attack is a giant AoE with a knockback attached to it. So you want to be ready for that. Angel's going to come up here, do her big heal, get regenerate on somebody. Might, I'm going to just go ahead and have Might get in here and start beating things down again. No, I'm not, because this knockback, you don't want to get knocked into a wall that deals extra damage to you. So I actually just have Might chill and break the wall. Now, no more wall there in case I have to deal with that again. Tempest, I'm going to have Tempest just go ahead and hit the boss. Boom, boom. He's going to take a little bit of damage when he gets knocked back into the wall. Here it comes, Smashing Comet Extra. There it is. We were ready for that, so we didn't take a ton of damage. Now, the boss is going to spawn these meteor crystals. You need to kill this one right here in Tidon's old spot. That's the one that really matters. This one is far enough away that I didn't end up having to deal with it much. I go ahead and proc. I think I proc the movement buff right here to help myself get back into position. I've never found an opportunity to use this sort of Convallaria tactical ability. Let's go ahead and just fast forward a little bit. Okay, we're going to beat that crystal down. I have Gloria help as well with that. then she can move again and stand by. One of the benefits of using that, move order one is you can hit things and then move again, which is very useful in positioning and making sure my allies and units are facing the boss to take advantage of that defense and attack buff that they get from the knightly order passive. Okay, so now we're back to hitting the boss. Here, I make another mistake. Angel is behind Tidon, so she's gonna get killed by that attack, but thank God this game gives you the ability to do what? Oh, you have the ability to rewind time. We're going to backtrack until Angel's previous turn, and then we're going to use a tactical ability, Urgent Order, give Angel another turn. And this is like for Angel in particular, and any of your characters that you need going before the boss, this is such a clutch ability. It's so important. So we've used Urgent Order. Now everybody goes, Angel can step up right here, and instead of dying and then having our team set up for failure, everybody's full HP, and we are ready to rock. Wallop hits Tidon, just knocks him back. He's a tank, he's ready for that. He doesn't take too much damage. And Shackles of Fate Extra comes out again, hits those two units. We're back to the lightning round. And now you can see how this plays out. We're literally just gonna do everything you just saw over again until we kill the boss. It's not that hard of a fight. What I wanna do next is show you units that can replace the units that I use to pull this off. I do really like using units from one faction to be your damage dealers. However, you need to be doing melee damage to this boss. So again, that's one of the reasons why I really like knights. You could go the assassin route with Cole if you wanted to. Cole has the leadership aura for assassins, giving you that defense buff. You might need some additional shielding or survivability. You can look for like trinkets and things like that to help there, but I look to try to take advantage of a leadership aura on this one. That's a big deal. You can't hit this boss with ranged attacks. You hit this boss with ranged attacks, he messes you up. You have 3 spots in front of him. You need a line of 3 melee damage dealers up there beating on him. So you can figure that out however you really want to. Again, just look to be debuffing the boss. If you have physical damage dealers that can do that, that'll be helpful. I want to talk about replacing Tidon real quick, because this is the most important spot on this fight. I'm going to show you a couple of units that can do it, including Dark Light Ice Priest, a literal rarity unit. This guy is tailor-made for this fight and super free to play friendly. So if you look at what he does, we could jump in his skill tree real quick here. Oh, that's not his skill tree. Let's jump in his skill tree real quick here. Here it is. Here's what I took for him. On his rank 1, I took defense enhancement. This will grant physical defense 2 to allies and grant immunity to defense attribute debuffs. He can give this to himself. So here's a way of upping his own defense. That's pretty nice. I took energy restoration so I can always be spamming his abilities. That's really useful right there. Ice armor was tempting because if you don't have a physical shield, you'll gain one at the start of your turn, but don't even worry about that. More of that here in a minute. Then I took defense physical. When hit by an active physical attack, you take 15% less damage. Nice. And then you have Icy Shield. Grants the target a physical shield equal to 130% of the character's magic attack for 2 turns. So what you could do with this guy, stack your defense, get your energy restoration, take less damage from physical, and give yourself a shield. This guy can do Tidon's tanking role in that back line. Basically as good as Tidon can. Now, he does not have the debuffs, right? Tidon being close to a boss is just constantly debuffing their damage, so you'll need to find that somewhere else. But this is the big, I would call this guy the hack to this fight with his ability to just really keep himself going. And you can see this is the setup that I use for him there. Another character a lot of people have, especially if they bought the $30 ticket, that can do this is Inanna. And this one's a little bit surprising, but Inanna has protection of light. When hit by an active single target attack, which is what this boss does, the damage taken is decreased by 30%. 30% cut in damage. She's gonna want somebody to be providing her a shield, because you take the healing debuff on this one, or the no healing debuff. You can mitigate that though. If you want her to just do this by herself and just heal herself through it, you can mitigate that with with the cooling powder. This will give you immunity to no healing received. So that's kind of a little bit of a cheat on this one. If you want to use Inanna for this, she can do it. She can do it. Yeah, and I've seen that actual run in action. So that's a couple hacks right there. Again, if you are using Angel, which the thing with Angel is her speed is very slow at 80, so you do need to be running Urgent Order to make sure she can do it. Otherwise, anybody who can AoE heal can get the job done for you. I just pulled for Samantha earlier today. I'm very excited to start testing her out in some of these fights. See if she is kind of like a hack or a clutch unit to be pushing even a little bit further. I feel like she's just the legendary version of Angel that just kind of does a little bit more, but look to be debuffing. And the trick here is you're going to have to find access to all the things you want to do that don't, again, involve physical or ranged attacks. You can't range attack this boss. So physical damage, stack leadership auras, stack defense buffs if you can. I believe it is. Yeah, the Popple Ice Priest is really good for this fight as well, with physical defense 2 and an AoE buff. So if you're not using knights and getting access to that big defense debuff they can give themselves, here's a 40% defense buff you can get from the Ice Priest. He kind of suffers in this one from not being able to do his damage, which kind of sucks, but this buff is pretty dang useful if you just have to kind of find some other way of getting a defense buff in there. Otherwise, you do need a healer for sure, and just make sure to pay attention to your turn order and positioning for those knockbacks and lightning bolts. Okay, guys, that's the guide for that one. I tried to go to a little bit different order, show the fight first, and then talk about units that I was using. If you like that order better, I can keep that order for like future guides and things like that. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. Happy farming, get that legendary gear, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.